Your importance has been validated.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. Call to order the City Council meeting of September 17th, 2013. Stand for pledge, please.
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, could you call the roll?
A quorum is present.
Before we have comments, public comment, we have a proclamation. It's my pleasure to recognize the fact the city is joining AT&T and other telecommunications companies in promoting a campaign to discourage text while driving. We're proclaiming Thursday, September 19th, 2013 as Drive 4 Pledges Day in the city of Inglewood. The proclamation reads as follows. Whereas the health and safety of teenagers and adults are of chief concern to the city of Inglewood, and where it is common knowledge that sending a text or email while driving is not safe, and whereas it's estimated that nearly 50% of commuters text while driving, and that more than 40% of commuters who text while driving reported the activity as being a habit, and that drivers that text messages while driving not only jeopardize their own safety, but also the safety of passengers, pedestrians, and other drivers. And whereas AT&T, Sprint, T-Mobile, US, Inc., and Verizon are spearheading It Can Wait campaign and are urging people to share their commitment to never text and drive. And whereas through itcanwait.com, Facebook, Text to Pledge, Tweet to Pledge, and other events, more than 2 million people have committed to never text and drive. And whereas on September 19, 2013, AT&T is asking all Americans to make a lifelong commitment. Wait a minute, I lost this. To never text and drive. And to take the pledge, you can go to www.itcanwait.com. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and council members of the city of Inglewood, California, do hereby proclaim September 19, 2013 as Drive for Pledges Day in the city of Inglewood, presented the 17th day of September and signed by the mayor and all council members. Ms. Angela Gibson, External Affairs Director for AT&T, is here to receive the proclamation and speak about the campaign. Now, welcome, Ms. Gibson.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor, Councilman, staff, City of Inglewood. As mentioned, I'm Angela Gibson, External Affairs Director at AT&T, and I just wanted to take a moment and thank the City of Inglewood for joining with AT&T and others in this growing movement. The campaign started out as It Can Wait in texting and driving, and now we have joined on with Mobile and Sprint and more than 200 other organizations to get the word out about this important issue. The bottom line, of course, is texting and driving can be fatal. It's caused more than 100,000 accidents, injuries, and deaths. It is now just as dangerous as drinking and driving. And so studies show that teens are not the only ones that are responsible for texting and driving. And so adults, and you may not think quite like texting and driving, but there are many, many, many forms of distracted driving. And so AT&T has joined with other carriers to discourage that type of behavior behind the wheel. So again, on behalf of AT&T, and you read all of the whereases, which are the comments and the statistics, and it's why it's so important to not text and drive. We are asking America to join with us on September 19th. And I'm also going to be appearing at the opening of the Teen Center to also take the message there for the young folks to not text and drive, and while they're with others, and encourage, and you're in the car with someone as a passenger, don't let folks text and drive while they're driving. So again, thank you to Inglewood. You're joining with other cities, Cerritos, Glendale, Culver City, Pasadena, and others. Thanks again, of course, to the able staff for bringing this awareness to Inglewood, and I appreciate your proclamation on behalf of this very important issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll do it over there because that's a good idea.
Okay.
Okay, Madam City Clerk, I want to make sure we have the Housing Authority and the City of Inglewood successor agency open as well.
A quorum is present.
Okay, item 1, CSA 1 and H1. Oh, excuse
We
me,
didn't have-
public comment. Could we have any members of the public wishing to address the council on any item on today's agenda do so at this time? Welcome.
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Councilmen and staff. How are you?
Good.
I'm Tina McKenna. I'm with Assemblymember Steve Bradford's office, and I'm here to invite everyone in the City of Inglewood to Mr. Bradford's Affordable Care Act Town Hall meeting on Saturday, October the 12th, excuse me, from 11 to 1 in the Inglewood City Hall Community Room on the first floor. This is going to be a wonderful event. We will inform the community about Obama's Affordable Care Act. We will cover Medi-Cal and Medicare, how the Affordable Care Act will affect businesses small and large, and what will happen to those 3.4 million people who don't fall under the Affordable Care Act. Please join us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McKenna. Public comment?
Good afternoon. Roy Fisher, the First District. You know, as I was looking through this agenda this evening, this afternoon, I saw where you had proposed to put some glass doors in the building at Darby Park. You know, you had a couple of people from Inglewood that had been given an opportunity, I guess, to bid on that. I was talking to a young man, though, whose family have been in the door business here in the City of Inglewood for as long as I've been here. Art Stafford, who now is retired and moved out of the city, but his son is still here. His son has Optimar door and frame, and I would that you would make note of that and hopefully give that young man an opportunity to bid on some of these contracts as they come forward. The other thing that I wanted to comment on was this Public Works thing with regard to the water. And we just had here, I guess a week or two, a young lady was telling us that everything was okay with regard to drinking of the water here, and that was okay. But now this feasibility study of the evaluation of the conditions of wells 1 and 4, I guess maybe it has to do with whether or not the wells are going to stand up. But, you know, we'd already been told that the water was okay for us to drink. And, you know, as you move forward and given some $55,000 away and given another almost $100,000 for the sewer, I guess, you know, now that you have all this money from we, the residents of the city, you know, you find ways to spend it. So I'm concerned about those things. Anyway, for now, that is my comments, and if you would like to respond, I'd like to hear from you. Thank you.
Okay.
Gil Matthew, District 4, Mayor and City Council. Now, payment of the bills. When are you going to put the ROPS payment on payment of the bills? That's a recognized obligation of payments. It's nowhere on the payment of the bills. We don't know what's being paid, what's approved. Also, Mr. Fields. Oh, he's gone. Okay, Mayor and Council. Now we have January 31st, 2014. We have a bill for $17.8 million.
Okay.
That has to be paid. Okay, now, you see, sometimes this council misinterpret what the residents are saying. And when you bring things to you, it's not because it's one person on this dais states that you want to see the city fail. No, that's not the reason at all. The reason is, it's called transparency. And the reason is to share everything with the residents. This is a municipality. This is not a private corporation. And I think you must understand that. And what's happened in the past, and I can tell you exactly what happened. It's been poor leadership, right from up here. And all I'm asking you not to repeat it. And it's nothing, all this thing you hear, there's money missing, he stole the money and all that. That's allegations without facts. That's all it is. But it does more harm to this city than anybody recognizes. And that's the problem. It started way back in the 70s. And we've had poor leadership from this council. Not all of it, but enough to do damage. Now, on CSA 2 and 3, that is a success agency. We need some oral reports as exactly what it is. Most people don't even understand what happened, and we need some sunlight on this AB 1484. Gentlemen, if you don't talk up, this city is in dire straits. And the relationship between the success agency and the general fund, it must be discussed.
Thank you, Mr. Matthew.
Good afternoon, council members. On this agenda, you have the setting of 2 public hearings, both of them during the day. You all said you weren't going to do that, but here we are doing it again. Disenfranchising the people who actually go to work Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, unless we want to pretend that we don't have anyone in this community who actually does work. Now, some of us are privileged to have already retired. Some of us are privileged to have had maybe a spouse who does work. But the majority of this community does work Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. And by setting these 2 public hearings, one on October 1st and one on October 15th, you've said their voices don't matter. And they're on significant things. The general plan. Now, just the synopsis for that says that normal general plan is 30 units per acre. I'll bet you not a single one of you would want to live, because most of you live in single-family homes, would not want to live with a paper-thin wall next door to 29 other households. And yet we're sitting here pretending that somehow that's cool. That's part of this general plan. Part of the general plan talks about transportation. And yet, look at Century. We should have thought about transportation, as some of us said, when we put and allowed some of those buildings to be too close, and now we're going to have dramas, aren't we? At least one of those set of pipes is way too close to Century today. Because sometimes people think that those of us who get up and speak just hate this city. We're the ones who actually invested in it. Our lives have been here. And for someone to say that we just want this community to fail, really don't have a clue as to where our sentiments are. We don't have to run around and tell the world where our sentiments are. We live it every day in our homes that we have dedicated our lives to. We didn't just fly in and show up one day on a Tuesday. We live here 7 days a week, many of us for many years. And those 2 items are disenfranchising the other people who actually live in this community all those other days. With regard to the successor agency, some of the decisions that have been made, and I'll make it short because I only have 30 seconds, You knew you weren't gonna own a piece of property and still you hired consultants that we're still gonna have to pay because you let that agreement. And we'll have absolutely nothing for all those dollars we already spent so many times over for that senior center. I think that goes down in history as a boondoggle. Kind of like that freeway to nowhere.
My name is Willie A.G., and I live in the beautiful city of Inglewood, and proud of my city council, staff, and everybody. I want to congratulate this council on consent calendar 3, 4, and 5. I was so happy to see that we're going to get a revolving door at Darby Park. I'm telling you, it's something that I've been wanting there for a long time. And want to appreciate this council for putting the people in charge that's able to get things done. I'm proud of it. All this other stuff from the naysayers, just keep listening to them. It ain't about nothing, no way.
Aldine Sly, First District. Mayor's, City Council staff. I agree with Diane Sobrano. The most important things that would involve the community are set for the afternoon. And we did have a representative who would have fought against that in District 1. We don't have that anymore. Everybody is very congenial up there, agreeing with everything that's put in this agenda. We need somebody who's going to fight for the people, and apparently you have no interest in fighting for the people that you represent, supposedly. You're not going to get away with this for very long. You can't. You're destroying Inglewood. The Inglewood that I knew when I first moved here. My husband and I worked hard to pay our mortgage and to pay for our home. And we didn't expect to live out our last years trying to fight to hold on to what we have, trying to fight for the services that we used to have. We have no representation. You can look any way you want, and yes, I am a naysayer. You can put any label on me that you wish, and you can too, but you know I'm speaking the truth. You know I'm speaking the truth. So for these special hearings that you're going to have in the afternoon, I would expect my representative to speak up and say it's not fair to not include the citizens that he represents. It just is not fair. And to go along to get along is not healthy for Inglewood.
Mr. Fields, how do we come to set these for the afternoon?
Mayor, City Council, I was just speaking with my assistant. We have,
Because we had an agreement that
We would-
things of universal interest would be at night, and,
Yeah.
you know, and I have to agree, but
Okay.
if there was some special reason, we'll keep them at 2, but
No, there's
otherwise,
no special reason.
Then let's move them to the night, and when we get there, we'll make that motion.
okay.
Okay? All right.
Hello, Council, Mayor. I know everybody's complaining about the 2 o'clock, but I'm up here to say one thing. You have to accommodate, as a city in whole, you have to accommodate the seniors, you have to accommodate a lot of people. It's hard to please us all. We all thinking that you're trying to do things behind our back because you're not informing us. But I can say one thing to the people. I can say this, and I'm not trying to kiss up to none of you all because none of you all pay my bills. But I'm going to tell it like it is. You have to accommodate the disabled. Now, if the disabled cannot come at 2 o'clock, oh well. We are blessed to come up here and stand here. We come at 7, we come at 2 o'clock. I'm very busy. but I come. I take time out. My hair's screwed up, but I still came. So now the city is moving forward. It is moving forward. I ask you all, stop coming up here,
I take it you're talking about
the public
SPH.
hearings.
Okay,
and,
all right, okay, go ahead, all right.
You know, at the 2 o'clock, Mayor. I mean,
Yeah, okay.
come on, the mayor, he has his way about himself, but he's trying to move the city. And if we keep coming up here feuding, y'all, we got to stop it. We got to realize that 1 and 2 has been replaced. There's nothing we could do anymore. Like I said before, let the law deal with the law. We need to stand behind the council and the mayor and move this city. Whatever is going on, if it's not right, it will come out. That's all I have to say, and everyone here has a heart. They're not made of stone. So if you feel something is being done wrong, then you stop it on your own. Go to the man, stop it. But all of this that we doing here has to stop. People are watching this stuff. I ask all of you, please stop. Come on now. Let them, if they doing something wrong, let them get caught. Let them get caught. But we got to stop and move this city. The MGM, whatever it is, the MSG, you got the Eagles coming in. That's the first thing gonna open up New Year. Do you know how many people booking already to come here? I don't even know them. But they already had a TV thing. There's a lot of things on here that we cannot be involved with, that they must do on their own with the attorneys and the city managers. So, come on now, y'all. It's time to stop. It's time to stop. The main thing we need to know now is what the minutes, what she's putting in the minutes, and how we gonna move this city and what the mayor and them are discussing. That's what we need to know. Other than that, let's stop this feuding. Life is too short. The president go to war now, we all gone. This is the end. Realize where we at.
With that, we'll close public comment. Item 1, CSA 1 and H1.
Warrant register.
Move allow payments.
Second.
Madam City Clerk.
Council members Dotson. Council and agency members Dotson.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Chairman Buds.
Aye. Consent calendar items 2, 3, 4, 5.
Rule 2.
Pulling item 2.
I move approval for 3, 4, and 5. I second.
Madam City Clerk.
Council members Dotson.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Buds.
Aye. Item 2.
Approval of the minutes held June 18th, 25th, and 26th, 2013.
Move approval. Second.
Madam City Clerk.
Council members Dotson.
Abstain.
Padilla.
Abstain.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Buds.
Aye. We're at 01, but
It's going to be a resolution.
I'm going to make a motion that be converted to a resolution because an ordinance is not appropriate. And,
And who's second?
Second.
You, okay.
Yeah.
all right. And so there'll no need for a motion to waive further reading, but a comment. Basically, what we do every year is we send a notice of our rates and an affirmation. There have been no changes in our property tax schedule to the county, but they're requiring now a resolution to affirm that in public, and this resolution basically now suffices for that requirement. So, Madam Clerk, could you just change the wording to read resolution recommending adoption?
Sure. There was a motion and a second, so do you want?
Madam City Clerk,
Do we need to?
we need a vote.
Okay. So I'm going to take a vote on changing it to a resolution
Yes.
and then a vote
Okay.
to adopt the resolution.
Okay.
Council members Dotson.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin. Mayor Buds.
Aye.
And staff report recommending adoption of a resolution approving to secure property tax rates for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2013.
So moved.
Second.
Madam City Clerk.
Council members Dotson.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Buds.
Aye. SPH 1, and let's change the date to October 8th.
October 8th. Okay, at 7 o'clock.
at 7 PM.
Got it.
Thank you, Ms. Sly. Ms. Sobrano.
The one on SPH 2 to October 22nd.
I was gonna get to
So,
that. I was
the
gonna get to it. We're on HPH 1 right now.
October the 22nd?
22nd for
Okay,
2.
at 7 o'clock.
But let's do 1. Oh, okay, so set the public hearing in for SPH 1, and you'll have to read it for the minutes, I imagine.
I can.
All right.
Staff report requesting that a public hearing be set to conduct a preliminary review for General Plan Amendment 2013-01, the draft of 2013-2021, Inglewood Housing Element.
So set the public hearing for October 8th at 7 PM. SPH 2.
Staff report requesting that a public hearing be set to consider an ordinance to remove development fees amount from the Inglewood Municipal Code, including fees in Chapter 10, Public Works, Chapter 11, Building, and Chapter 12, Planning and Zoning Codes.
So set the public hearing for October 22nd, 2013 at 7 PM. And thank you, Ms. Sobrano and Ms. Sly. Appreciate that. Reports, CM1. A1, Mr. City Attorney.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. There's a closed session held to CS1 closed session confidential conference with labor negotiators under Government Code Section 54957.6 subsection A, employee organizations of Service Employees International Union, Inglewood Management Employees Organization, Inglewood Executive Organization, Inglewood Police Officers Association, Inglewood Police Management Association, Inglewood Police Civilian Management Association. Negotiator for the city is Artie Field, city manager, and, well, Jack Huffman wasn't here today, who is our chief negotiator. Discussions were held, however, no final action was taken, and that concludes actions out of closed session for today. Thank you.
Are there any verbal reports?
No, Mr. Mayor.
CC1, Madam City Clerk.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have something real quick to say, and that is, last week I attended a city clerk conference, and we discussed lessons on ethics, election law updates, refresher on the Brown Act, and FPPC updates. And we also had a speaker that talked to us about how to manage difficult and needy people. Thank you. That's the end of my closing remarks. That was excellent.
CT1,
Is a monthly treasurer's report for the month ending June 30th, 2013.
receive and file. CT2, Madam City Treasurer is not with us today. The successor agency is already open. The roll was already called. CSA 2.
Is staff report recommending adoption of 2 resolutions to approve the January 1st, 2014 through June 30th, 2014, recognize obligation payment schedule 13-14B ROPS for submittal to the Oversight Board, and to approve the administrative budget for the ROPS 13-14B period.
Move adoption.
Second. Comment?
Councilman Franklin.
Yes, the public has raised the concerns of the Oversight Committee, Oversight Board having public meetings. And I'm just curious to see, now that we're going to be adopting the schedule, will there be standard meetings on which public can engage in comment?
Yes, there are. Yes, there will be.
Okay. And they will be timely notified. Thank you, Mayor.
Madam City Clerk.
Council members, agency members, Dotson,
Abstain.
Padilla,
Abstain.
Morales,
Aye.
Franklin,
Aye.
Chairman Butts.
Aye. CSA 3.
Staff report recommending approval of a non-housing due diligence report for submittal to the City of Inglewood Oversight Board.
Move approval. Second.
Madam City Clerk.
Agency members, Dotson,
Aye.
Padilla,
Sorry. Aye.
Morales,
Aye.
Franklin,
Aye.
Chairman Butts.
Aye. CSA 4.
Monthly Treasurers Report for the month ending June 30th, 2013.
Receive and file. Adjourn the successor agency. The Housing Authority is open. H2.
Monthly Treasurers Report for the month ending June 30th, 2013.
Receive and file. adjourn the Inglewood Housing Authority, open the Inglewood Public Financing Authority. Would you call the roll?
Quorum is present.
F1,
Monthly Treasurers Report for the month ending June 30th, 2013.
receive and file. If I'm not mistaken, we're
We did-
at public comment now.
We're going back to City Council.
Hold on a second.
Finance.
Let me. Okay, if I'm not mistaken, we just
We finished that.
We just did that.
And we're,
We did housing.
no, we did finance. It's a receive and file. It's not a vote.
I feel like it's
And
all
so
good.
now we're going back to city, now we're going back to City Council and a
Okay,
quorum
so-
is present.
Okay, and now we'll open public comment. Any persons wishing to address the council on items not contained on the agenda may do so at this time.
Okay, 237, reading.
Let's go, folks.
My, oh my, in such an effort to rush through, we've actually concluded the business for how many millions of dollars in less than 40 minutes? All because we're in a hurry to get somewhere, I think. Because you know what? Each one of these things should actually have had some kind of a discussion. Whether it was the ROPS, which of course we've had two people back here who are very concerned about ROPS. How many millions is that? And we never get to hear you guys discuss it at length. Even in requesting that those are public meetings, I didn't hear someone say that will take place at X o'clock in such and such a room. So even when we say we're going to be about transparency, it's more like looking at a piece of construction paper, kind of opaque rather than transparent. And I really would have hoped that there would have been a change, but I don't think that's going to happen, unfortunately. You see, even in the public comments, when one person makes a comment disparaging of a group of us, that's perfectly okay for the chair. But let someone else say something else disparaging about the one individual who always has permission to do that. Oh my, how awful. There's not even fair and equitable treatment in that. And that's why you look as if, well, clearly you have your favorites. And that's really unfortunate because it's every member of this community that you should be listening to carefully and giving great attention to perhaps the words that might help you better serve us rather than to dictatorially act in opposition to us. And that's unfortunate. I would hope that you would rescind your little concept as you look at this audience. There's only one person here who is not a senior, and yet every one of us are the ones who come at night. And since that false, and yes, it was false, petition was presented to you, and you were made aware that very day, and criticized the senior who came up and said, I did not sign a petition. That was my admittance to visit a senior center. Can't even look at me. Even since then, you've not genuinely had the people who were supposedly on a petition show up in this room except for that one day. But there was a handsome reward to the person who did in fact bring it. How sad is that? How very sad. Open and honest government? Yeah, let me remind you that it was naysayers who actually created this entire country. They said maybe we shouldn't be ruled by a government that doesn't appreciate us. That was the American Revolution. It was naysayers who said maybe perhaps slavery should not be an accepted practice.
Leroy Fisher again. I've heard a couple of comments from residents of the city telling them a couple things, and I'm going to reiterate what they said to you. I was with a group of people over this weekend, and their question was to me, why do they keep changing these council meetings like they do? So there are two of you council members who are new to this, and I would hope that maybe you would listen and you would learn from it and maybe even offer to make some changes with regard to it. Also I heard one of the residents of the city say something to you about people coming together. We ought to come together. I've always tried very, very hard to come together with people who really wanted to come together and make things work. But, it's hard to come together when you don't see people who are really willing to come together and make things work. I had occasion to have a meeting of the Wiseman's group of people who have been here since 1947. I happen to have been a member since for 37 odd years. And that group of people support this city through the things they do, and trying to make you all aware that once for 80 years there was a YMCA here, maybe bringing it back. I had occasion to have an opportunity to go to Mrs. Patrick, who is at the ICOP Center, a couple weeks ago, and make arrangements for the Wiseman's group to have a meeting there. I told our councilman last week that he came and usurped that opportunity for us to meet there, because they were going to have a paper shredding deal. A week after, 2 weeks after, as a matter of fact, when we had made arrangements for Mrs. Patrick to have that meeting there. A lot of things going on in this city. I heard a resident talk about, handicapped people. I've talked about handicapped people too, and I've talked about people having access to handicap sidewalks. That doesn't happen, but I've heard here last week where we're going to pave over these city streets again in certain areas to make people happy. Well, they will be happy because they're getting their streets paved, but what happened to those handicapped access things that we've been talking about for those many number of years? I think that things that are done in this city sometime are a farce. You need to wake up because people are waking. Thank you.
That was the first time I heard about a complaint about paving streets. That's a good one.
I'm back again, Eth Austin. I wanted to ask you all, the public hearing on the housing element, is that about the stuff I was mentioning last week about they was putting people out and?
Not exactly, no.
Not exactly?
No.
Oh, well, are we gonna get the RSO program in Inglewood?
I prefer to have put you together with Ms. Pacheco, and she can give you some information about that.
So you thinking about it, man?
No, ma'am. I just want to make sure I give you a good right answer.
I mean, the council, yeah.
We
I hope you all adopt the RSO program. We the only city that don't have it, and we tired of being abused, Mayor. You need to, you're trying to move the city, but how you gonna move it if everybody get put out of the Inglewood?
All right.
Okay? Thank you, Mayor.
All right.
And thanks, Council.
Hold on.
Oh, sorry.
You can say you're from the beautiful city of Inglewood later. Mayor, council, and staff, thank you for changing the special hearings to the evening on a different date. I really do appreciate that. And I appreciate you taking it into consideration that more people need to be involved in these types of ordinances or whatever it is you're going to pass, or because I know it's going to pass anyway. But the citizens should at least have a chance to come and voice their opinions about it. I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you again.
My name is Willie A.G., and I live in the beautiful city of Inglewood. I want to say this. We have 114,990 people in the city here that vote. I don't think 5 people count. Naysayers don't count. Councilman George Dodson was elected to be council in the 1st District. Councilman Alex Padilla was elected in the 2nd District by the majority of the people. By far, if people can't accept what the majority of these people in the city vote for, what can you do to satisfy them? I don't understand it. I didn't like who we had in the first district. I didn't like who we had in the second district. But they were elected, and I accept them. I fought with the one in the second district for 15 years trying to get rid of her. But she was elected by the majority of people in the second district. What can I say? And these people get up here screaming and hollering about good people. Can't nobody tell me George Dotson ain't a good man. Can't nobody tell me Alex Padilla ain't a good man and representing this city the best that they know how, and that's good. I don't care, if the city council meeting don't last but 10 minutes. As long as you taking care of business the way you are, I'm proud of it. We can cut the lights off when we leave here. I stayed here many nights until 1, 2 o'clock and didn't accomplish nothing. And these old people like myself get up here crying, talking about how much education they have. They ought to act like it sometime. Thank you.
I'll do the best I can, but I'm suffering from laryngitis. Hopefully I can be heard. I'm Theola Gardner, 1st District. The reason it's empty out here, because there are people who are not being served. They've lost interest. This was one of the dirtiest campaigns of all times. When George Dotson sent a hitman to say he'd mess me up. What kind of citizen is that? What kind of citizen? And when people were paid, actually paid to hustle votes, money was paid. This replacement, they are owned by the mayor. He bought and paid for them. They should have the tag on the front of them, how much they cost. And they're costing the city of Inglewood much, much more because of the way he's able to use and manipulate them for his votes, to do as he commands and demands. People of Inglewood, we're suffering. And there's those who do not know how to turn it around. People that were supporters of these two people don't live in Inglewood. Maxine Waters lives in Hancock Park. She don't care about Inglewood. And any of the others you name. But regardless of the fact that you're sitting here, believe me, you're going to be sorry what you wished for, because you're going to get it.
Gil Matthew, District 4 Mayor and City Council. I would hope this City Council understand very well that they are a successor agency and they are a state agency. And also remember too that we undergoing the agency being dissolved. Now you have that responsibility to the city, and you're gonna have to discuss it sooner or later from this dais. Now you're talking about we're gonna send the ROPS to the Oversight Committee. Guess who's on the Oversight Committee? Mayor Butts and Ms. Cruz. He's the chairman. What is wrong with you? Don't you understand conflict of interest? Don't you understand anything you send there going to be approved by him who sent it? Something is wrong with this city. And I'm telling you, look, you can sit and sit. You're talking about millions and millions of dollars. You're talking about being forced to sell all of your properties. You're talking about a closed session. You got all of these properties. Did you include any of the real estate people in the city of Inglewood? No. You give it to some individuals to parcel it out where they can't even make a commission. Something is wrong with you. What, don't you think about your own city and include people here? And then you have, keep telling you, you have the interfund transfer. You took $19 million, and I'm telling the management of it, and I'm telling you, Mr. Fields, you have an interfund transfer, $19 million, $18 million for Madison Square Garden, the other $1 million for Hollywood Park Land Company. And then you transfer it to the merged city obligation fund. The state has already told you, and look at the letters that Ms. Cruz getting. I read it on the internet. Madison Square Garden, the city of Inglewood, and Forum LLC, which is Faithful Central Baptist Church, the successor agency is not a part of the agreement, and they will not okay anything dealing with that. Now, if I know it, either you know it or don't know it. Okay? But you're in trouble. Now, you don't want to discuss it here. I've discussed it, and I'm going to say everything I know.
Thank you, Mr. Matthew.
I need more than 3 minutes, though.
Thank you, Mr. Matthew. I'll address your concerns when I speak, Mr. Matthew.
Hi, Inglewood family. I'm Wild Bill Widener, and I wasn't going to say anything, but at the first of the meeting, Councilman Franklin was showing a picture of some graffiti and stuff over there on the Inglewood LA city line there. I think it was, wasn't it? Or Inglewood and LA city line. Oh, it was in Inglewood. Oh, okay. Anyway, so if I misunderstood, so if I did, I did, and if I didn't, I didn't. But the way I got the conclusion was that, in my mind, that's what Joseph Traxero was about. Is like you're living in a firing zone all these years, right on the border, same as around Centinela Park and everything. He just wanted the city police department and so forth to be a little more positive about the concerns of the people in the neighborhood. Anyway, if I'm off track, I'm off track.
Mr. Mayor, Council, my name is Joseph Texera. I'm asking this council to remove James Butts as council chairman because he regularly and deliberately violates the rules of these meetings and misleads the public for his own political reasons. Most people know by now, including the mayor, that if you go to the internet and type in liar for hire, Willie Brown, you will see indisputable video proof that Willie Brown, the dishonest publisher of Inglewood Today News, and his staff use Inglewood's tax dollars to deliberately lie to and mislead Inglewood's voters. But even though it's a documented fact that Brown and his paper made up lies and manipulated audio tape to help James Butts and his buddy Alex Padilla win an election, Mayor Butts and this council still gave Brown and his paper over $12,000 last week. And the mayor has repeatedly and desperately defended Willie Brown, who of course is James Butts' paid political advisor. Willie Brown deceived Inglewood's voters and said that I stole some political flyers, ran out of a burger stand with them, destroyed them, and threw them away outside. All lies. In fact, security video from the burger stand, which is now on the internet, shows beyond any doubt that Brown lied. And statements from the actual owners of the burger stand prove Brown lied. But for meeting after meeting, Mayor Butts has told the public that he doesn't believe Willie Brown lied. Butts claims that even though actual video proves Brown lied, He heard me give my employer's name and phone number to an owner at the burger stand, and he says that I asked the owner to lie to make it look like Brown lied, which makes no sense whatsoever. I agreed to give Butts a chance to admit that he might have made a mistake, but he didn't want to take it. And the owners agreed to explain to Butts that he made a mistake. But the mayor doesn't like the truth. He wants to keep saying what he's saying. So last week I told everyone what really happened, that Alex Padilla's campaign put pressure on the owner not to make any statements about whether or not Brown lied. And so when I was talking to the owner, the mayor admitted that he was standing right behind me eavesdropping. The owner got nervous and asked me for my name and number so that we could talk privately later. But confronted with the truth, the mayor said that my explanation has, quote, evolved over time, unquote, meaning that it has changed. However, that's impossible because last week was the very first time I had ever been allowed to say what happened. So again, it's impossible for it to change over time. When I first tried to explain what happened, the mayor denied me the time. The second time I was going to, the mayor ejected me in violations of the rules. The next time I tried, the mayor literally ejected me because I was trying to keep him from interrupting my explanation. Meeting after meeting, Butts has told the same story. And if anyone ever doubts why I say that the mayor doesn't tell the truth, it's because the mayor doesn't tell the truth. I didn't tell anybody to lie for me. The mayor was there. The people at the burger stand know he was there. And if the mayor cared anything about what he was saying being the truth, he would go down to the burger stand and ask the people. And if he cared anything about using this city's money to pay to liars, he would watch the video, liar for hire,
Thank you, Mr.
liar,
Teixeira.
comma, Willie Brown.
Thank you. Mr. Teixeira, what you're saying isn't the truth.
Do I have to leave?
No, you don't have to leave.
Okay, bye.
What you're saying isn't the truth, Mr. Teixeira, and I would leave if I were you as well. The reality is you didn't know I was behind you. The proprietor was fixated on what you were asking him, and you were asking him quite directly to call my boss. Please call my boss because I'll lose my job. I'm not making any comment about what you did or didn't do, but I know what I saw, and I know that your story evolves every week, and it's sad. Because if you just hadn't messed with things that didn't belong to you, you wouldn't be in this situation. So anyway, that's the end of that for me. Council comments. Councilman Dotson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I got some thank yous to give out. Actually, I had my first document shredding day this past Saturday, and that was a team effort. My assistant, Alicia Smith, Ms. Don Harris from Republic, Officer Lotta Melt, and Patricia Patrick. They're all part of my team that we're planning to do a lot of things in the First District. And I want to thank them because of their effort, I was able to attend 2 other block club meetings that I would not have been able to do that had they not stepped aboard and took over the shredding event, which went very well. They even had food and drink that they served to the people who came in and out. So I'd like to thank them as well as all the commissioners in the First District who showed up for that event. They took their time out on that Saturday and came and spoke to the people who got their paper shredded. So I want to really thank my assistant Alicia and Patricia Patrick because they really worked hard on that particular event. And it was a rousing success. Today I had my eyes opened by the South Bay workforce. If you have not visited, you should. And if you are looking for employment, if you're a professional or not a professional, you need to visit this place if you're looking for a job. One Stop is one of the best kept secrets in Inglewood. They are really doing a great job over there. So if you're looking for employment, you need employment, go by the One Stop Center. Thank you very much, and thanks for coming out.
Councilman Padilla.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to piggyback a little bit of what Councilmember Dodson mentioned about the South Bay Work Investment Board. It's located right across La Brea here, across from City Hall at 110 South La Brea. And this morning we had an opportunity to have a presentation by Jan Vogel and his staff, who did an outstanding job of informing us of everything that they have to offer. So as Councilmember Dodson said, please, if you're looking for a job opportunity or how to improve on your resume or interviews, that's the place to go to. On another note, just a reminder, this is Hispanic Heritage Month, and as part of the celebrations here in Inglewood, this coming Saturday at Crozier School from 11 to 4 p.m. will be a event held on their field. So please, if you get a chance, stop by and show your support. I want to thank the Escardarian family that live in District 2 and a few of the other residents who attended the St. James Armenian Church picnic this past Sunday. It was a very good event, brought a lot of community members together from not only Inglewood, but the surrounding area. As a reminder, this coming Thursday, the Teen Center from the South Bay Work Investment Board is going to be having their grand opening at 4 p.m. right here at our library. So please stop by and show your support as well. Talking about the library, as a save the date, October the 5th, that Saturday is their 50th year celebration. Another save the date is in District 2. We're having our first family District 2 picnic. It'll be at North Park. That'll be on September 29th, a Sunday, from 1 to 4. So if you're available, please come out. We're going to have food and refreshments, and a good time will be had by all. I want to touch on one quick comment that was made about our Congresswoman Maxine Waters, that she doesn't care about what happens in Inglewood. And I got to tell you, she cares a lot about what happens in our community. I had the opportunity this past Saturday, along with the mayor and the other council members, to attend her town hall meeting, and she spoke about what's going on not only in Inglewood but the surrounding area. So I do want to let you know that our Congresswoman Maxine Waters does care about Inglewood and the other communities in the area. With that, thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your week.
Councilman Morales, the new dean of the council.
The dean. Hey, that just means I've been here the longest. What I was going to piggyback on is Maxine Waters. I have to say that, you know, not only does she make the functions here, but she chooses Inglewood annually to do a couple of town hall meetings. She doesn't do it in every city that she represents, but we always get more than our share from her. Now, in regards to Saturday's event, I know Councilman Padilla made the announcement. It's actually the first time it's actually gone to the month of September. We used to celebrate a lot of those festivities during the Cesar Chavez holiday, which was canceled this year to move it towards September. Now, in regards to some of the stuff staff has been doing, I just wanted to point out that Public Works, Luis Atwell, just did has been doing an outstanding job, but I did want to point out that some of the residents came to me on a particular pothole that had been unfinished. There was something going on in the street, and I couldn't believe how fast his staff was out there once I made the call. And that takes not only a good organization, but a good team. So I just wanted to point that out. Thank you. That's it, Mayor.
Councilman Franklin.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. First of all, I want to thank everyone for coming out, and those that are not here that are listening in TV land. We must identify that when we have elections, it's over with. So this old news will keep coming back about he did this, she did that. It needs to stop. We need to move forward. What I am proud to hear today was that there was bona fide residents that came to the podium and said, we feel that we're not we feel that we are disenfranchised because you're having a public meeting in the daytime versus having it in the evening. The mayor got that, made the uniform decision that you're right. We identify it needs to be changed, and we moved it to the evening hours. That's business today that we need to continue to talk about. In addition to that, I had shared with one of my residents, or actually a couple of residents in District 4, that we're dealing with a number of gang infiltrations from the LA area trying to infiltrate into Inglewood, and we're dealing with a lot of graffiti. And the graffiti is being placed on Inglewood businesses or residents that I regularly have to keep removing. That's the issue of concern. In addition to that, I want to thank Chief Mark Fronterata for alerting me in advance about the neighboring city of Hawthorne that's dealing with the methane gas issue that has resulted in a number of streets that would be entering Inglewood being closed and the 105 freeway being closed temporarily in order to address that issue. And so we had an influx of traffic that we normally would not have. I also want to put to rest this MSG issue regarding, here we are dealing with something that a multi-million-dollar investment is underway with this city, and they would not be making this investment without knowing that we are doing our due diligence. The Department of Finance, the council, and the staff is all on board to move this project forward, and we will be having our ribbon cutting grand opening on January 15th, 2014, according to plan. There was also comments raised regarding the issues whether we are doing streets and we're not dealing with the ADA curbs. That is not true. Want to identify that was over approximately 2 months ago, this council approved a capital improvement project that addresses a number of curbs to be in compliance with ADA, which we've already adopted, and that if you want to check with the respective council member to identify where they are, that's fine. But to say that we're not doing it, that is not true. And then finally, identify that whether our congresswoman decides to come to the city of Inglewood or not to do a town hall meeting, that's great. But more importantly, she has she's an open ear for us when we go to Washington and identify specific major projects that need to be done in the city and is being done in this city, and bringing those dollars here to this community, particularly when it talks about infrastructure, et cetera. Thank you very much, and have a great day. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, I'm going to talk about Congresswoman Waters. Since I've been the mayor, she's been great for us. And in the last 2 years, we've received $6 million from the FAA, a $3 million retention grant, and now received another $1 million hiring grant that we're just notified of yesterday. In Inglewood, we're not an island. We're part of a larger universe, and that universe includes other elected officials at the federal, state, and local level. It includes other cities that we work with. It includes the economic community, and that's very important because those are the people that have the money to invest in our community. And so the reason that we take the time, particularly nowadays since it doesn't devolve into bickering, is that these meetings are televised, and the people that are making investment decisions, they watch these meetings. And there was a time when they believed that we were just hopelessly schizophrenic and not understanding that the image that we present has an impact on other people's economic decisions. And so that's why we really take the time, and I'm going to tell you, Mr. Matthew, you are so off base that if I was somebody that was going to invest in the city and I listened to you, I'd believe that we're on the verge of bankruptcy any moment. And so I'm going to take the time to tell you now, it is not a conflict of interest for me to be on the oversight board. In fact, the membership of that board is prescribed by the Department of Finance in the state of California. And I couldn't, and in fact, all the taxing entities that are eligible to receive part of those monies as we dispose of properties that have to be sold at fair market value by means of a land disposition plan, the other entities on that on that oversight board elected me as chair. So obviously they don't feel it's a conflict of interest. So for anybody listening, that's not true. I heard tonight someone complain now about the fact that we are going to do an aggressive street resurfacing plan, that now the complaint is curb cuts. Well, curb cuts are part of the plan, so anybody listening, that's part of our plan as well. Sidewalk reconditioning, where we do the streets, is part of the plan as well. And for the last time, the development agreement that we entered into with Madison Square Garden that involved an $18 million rehabilitation loan has been approved by the Department of Finance. The only dispute we have with the Department of Finance is a $13.9 million loan for a project on Regent Square, I think it was, that we entered into in accordance with AB 27, which was the companion bill to AB 26, which said that if you opt in, if you choose to pay a certain portion of your redevelopment allocation every year to the state, that now you could go on with your projects. And we did, in accordance with AB 27. Later on, the League of California Cities challenged that, both those, AB 26, which abolished redevelopment, and AB 27, which was the opt-in payment. Unfortunately, AB 26 was upheld by the court, and AB 27 was deemed unconstitutional. And so the state went back and said, well, since the Supreme Court says that it wasn't a good law, now we think you owe us $13.9 million. But we acted in accordance with the law, with what we knew to be the law when we made the arrangement. And so we believe that we will prevail. Anyone that hopes that we lose that logical argument, I'm sorry, you are anti-Inglewood, and it's ridiculous. You should support your city. You should support the people that are attempting to get every dollar that we can to provide quality housing, quality projects into this city. So I'm going to tell you once and for all, that's what the situation is. We have no problem with the Madison Square Garden transaction. And please stop trying to destabilize confidence in that transaction. It's not good for us. Okay, I want to close the meeting in honor of 4 people. This is the 50th anniversary of the bombing of the church in Birmingham, Alabama in 1963. And those that were perished were Addie Mae Colling, 14, Cynthia Wesley, 14, Carol Robertson, 14, and Denise McNair, age 11. And God bless their families. We're adjourned.